Okay, so while we get everybody settled, I'm just going to do a little introduction. So most of you guys were here for our first Elevate by BTS event, so you kind of know the reason that we got everything started. Basically, we've been in business for 15 years, and we noticed a big trend in any type of industry networking and gathering events where people that had been in the industry for quite some time were all kind of craving this connection and this place to where we can grow and learn and have discussions and ask questions at the point of business where we're at. So not at an entry-level position when really, at least for me, my main focus was just booking a client. You know, that was about the extent of my worry when I first started. Now fast forward into year 5, into year 10, into year 15, and my worries and struggles are a lot different than what they were before. So that's why we pulled together this group, Elevate by BTS. This is something that we just literally want to do to try to elevate our industry with experienced event professionals. So today we have a very special guest. I'm super excited to announce V, who owns the James Agency. I'm going to have her come out and talk a little bit, tell you about herself and her agency, and then we'll get started on today.
Thank you.
Of course.
Mic check. All right. Hi, guys. Everybody, my name's Veronique. Everybody calls me V. My kids do. My staff does. The James Agency is a full-service advertising, public relations, and strategic thought partnership agency located literally down the street as the crow flies a mile south of Scottsdale Fashion Square at 64th and Thomas. I founded the agency 20 years ago. We are considered a white glove service agency supporting B2C and B2B brands, brands that you may recognize. We represent all of Fox restaurant concepts. So all the restaurants that you enjoy of Sam's, we do all the strategy and marketing for that. Mountain Shadows, Hotel Valley Ho, M Culinary in your sphere of influence. What a fantastic experience for us. We have grown over the course of 20 years to become full service, which means an integrated practice of thinking, not being disciplinary specific, not just PR, not just creative, not just social media, but looking at the 360 strategy of our clients and really solving for whatever that problem is, that business objective. And we've had the privilege of supporting them for multiple years. So that's a little bit about me. I am the sole founder, no capital partners, and currently we're at 45 staff.
Oh, that's amazing. She has also been named one of the most influential women in Phoenix. So just minor detail. Right, no big deal. So basically today our main focus is just talking about sales. You know, how do we get better at sales and how do we grow our businesses to scale? So that's going to be the main topic. What we're going to do is we're going to get into a really good kind of Q&A. We're going to kind of pick V's brain about some things, some experiences that she has had and able to share with us. So we deliberately have chosen V from outside of the wedding and event industry. I feel like our industry is amazing and it's creative and it's filled with so many hardworking individuals, but I think it's really great to learn from other industries, you know, so this was all very strategic in how we have set this up. So first things first, when we get started into this, I want to kind of open the door. Sales starts early, like it starts very, very early on in your business. So you start it and you're like, okay, I know I need to make money. And you maybe don't understand a lot of this kind of getting started, but a really, really big part of this is knowing what you need for business. It's knowing your numbers, it's knowing what you need to operate, it's knowing what you need to charge, and it's just really understanding a lot of those details. So can you kind of give us some insight into a turning point when you started the James Agency and really actually understood, okay, now I know what I need to bring in order to do this?
I think you guys can all attest to this. In professional services, we're in the trust business first before we're in the execution business, right? And especially when you're in the luxury space, they have to trust that the value proposition, the brand promise is going to mirror the experience of what they're buying from you. And that's really critical. So to your point, the sales narrative starts really early. And for me and our business, sales is capitalized on frequency and repetition and trustful statements and alignment. And when we're in the trust business, we sell to the narrative of the business objective, not to the commodity, right? We're not talking about widgets or anything like that. You're going to have me rewind a bazillion years. I feel like 1 year of advertising is like 20,000 dog years. So I have I'm actually 40,000 years old in real life. 5 years into business, as you mentioned, my sales initiatives were very different than they are now. I didn't have the privilege to be able to pick and choose what types of clients I was looking for. It was about trying to make sure that I could keep the lights on, support my office, keep my people, employed, while still maintaining a strong reputation and building a book of business, a reputable book of business. Today, I'm more about, is excellence feasible? What requires success for both parties, myself and our potential client, and is that possible? And so I teach my team about sales. Sales is a consultative engagement in the trust business. Are you building a bridge or are you burning a bridge? And a lot of times, back in the day, I would throw facts and case studies and try to give discounts and all these things, and I was creating a commodity sales conversation. In luxury, it's about creating an asset conversation. Selling success stories, leveraging existing partnerships, showing that you are trusted within the category of which you're potentially selling. And if it's a new vertical or a new potential type of client, or maybe you're expanding your strengths a little bit and trying something new, act as if, right? But I think right now, the macroeconomy, how lightning fast technology is changing, gosh, even 9 months ago, how different is the sales climate? It's extraordinary how changing it is. Trust is the fundamental practice right now in professional services and sales. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it really does. I couldn't agree more, too, as far as the trust factor. This is something that myself and my team, we go over all the time. Like, you can conquer the world when you have somebody's trust, and you never want to abuse that or take advantage of it. But learning your client and really kind of like digging into that trust relationship, like, hey, you need this. Like, I'm not just trying to sell you on this, even though this is all kind of like going into sales, but like, you need to have this for your success. So how do you make yourself more trustworthy for your clientele?
There's some good tips and tricks. Jack Daly wrote a book called The Hyper Sales Playbook. Highly recommend it. It has actually nothing really to do with sales tactics. It's all about the categorical thought process of how to engage somebody, right butts, right seats. But selling to that you need this value proposition is very different, because many clients come to us and they say, oh, we need this. And I'm like, And as we go through our consultative discovery and we try to quantify what the actual pain point is, right? We're trying to create what they think is potentially a gain, because marketing is kind of like a snack. It's like going and getting a Starbucks. You can live without it, but it's a luxury to have it. And what we need to do is translate their gain mentality to a pain mentality and identify why they need this. And then most importantly, from a tactical perspective or a solution perspective, how do we quantify the delta of where they are and where they need to be? Basic questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much time is this costing you? How difficult is this for your team? How much revenue are you leaving on the table by not having this solution? And you can start putting dollars and cents to that. And if you get like a 9 or a 10, oh man, that's a hot lead, right? And then you can really start selling to those pain points. I feel like I'm talking in a little bit of a circle here, so I apologize, but I have so much to share. So really looking for the value, I call it the bridge between what the consumer needs or the client needs and what you think they need, and let's solve for that gap. And a lot of times there's 2 to 3 valiant truths that come out of that discovery practice, and that ignites the spark for a sales conversation. A lot of people will say, I need everything. I need the kitchen sink in my marketing. When reality is maybe their internal marketing and internal adoption for getting their team aligned, or recruitment is an issue. Let's start there with the priority and build a strong house. So I'm a huge proponent of saying no. Clients come to us all the time and they tell us what they want, and I'm like, we're not going to do that for you.
Right.
But
it's okay.
Here's what we are. Yeah, like leaning into that as an expert and saying, no, This is not what you need. And if you're going to another agency that's telling you, they're just trying to take your check. Right? And that's not an ethical practice of business. And this is why we've yielded multiple year trusted relationships, is because we deeply invest into the pragmatic thinking or the problem solving for the client versus just doing their media buying or just doing their website, right? Moving the needle for them, not just the metrics.
Yeah. So basically what I'm hearing is like being the expert. So coming in with the knowledge and sharing, like, yes, I understand this is what you think you might need for this, but like as the expert, I'm going to lead you in another direction. And that kind of really relates to what we do as well. Like a lot of times I'll have a bride come in and she's like, I want this right here. This is what I want. And it's like, okay, that's great, but like that was 10 years ago and I can do 10 years ago. Like I've nothing against it, but what are our goals here? Like what are our actual goals? Are our goals to do something that's a little bit outdated, or are our goals to bring something new to the table? And I can tell you how I can do this in a new way and why it's better and everything else. So just really kind of like implementing the knowledge component, the expert component, and asserting yourself in a way to where it's like, I already know what you need for this. Does that kind of...
And being unapologetically an expert in that category too. I started the conversation with you guys saying, is excellence possible? All businesses should have some sort of decision filter for what is the right type of client. And I joke with my team, I say, we are not a trash for cash agency.
Oh, I love that.
No disrespect to those types of businesses, but there are certain businesses that we just don't touch. Low rate cards, they want to burn out my team, they're looking for lowbrow production. That's not our jam. Right? And so you can early on recognize if there's a delta in the expectations and perspective of excellence. That's a great way to discern trust too, because if you're like, I appreciate you and thank you for thinking of us, let me make an introduction to somebody else for you because I just don't think we're going to be able to fulfill your expectations. Here's a good pro tip. Everybody is a domino. You never know who you're selling to. Whether you're recruiting for staff, treat everybody like a sales domino because they may become a referral partner for something else, right? Never leave them high and dry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just to kind of circle back onto the whole trust component of everything, I had a conversation with a business professional recently on my podcast. And one thing that she said on the podcast that really kind of like rang in my head is she said that a luxury client in any industry is looking for safety and security. And I was like, wait, that's so true. They're coming to you, they're going to pay top dollar because they're looking for a safe place for whatever they need, and they want to know that they're being taken care of. So like the safety and security kind of components. And I think that that is so true because a lot of our clients come to us and they're like, I just want a wedding. I just want a BTS wedding, or I just want this. And you're like, okay, they're coming to us because somehow we've already established the trust with them, whether it's through our social media or it's through our brand or it's through a referral. And then they know that they're in a secure place. So what is a way or a time or a story that that you have already been able to provide that safety and security for a client in order to, like you said, push that needle forward and really kind of get them locked in with your team?
I love that you use the vernacular safety and security. Our terminology, our vernacular is certainty of intent and clarity of vision. Oh, so when clients come to us, they're looking for certainty of intent and clarity of vision because they don't know until they see it. Yep. We love those clients, right? I don't know. I'll know it when I see it. That's like the worst. We're not mind readers. We're problem solvers, right? So again, don't throw facts at them. Don't throw case studies. By building trust in a sales composition when it comes to certainty of intent and clarity of vision, share success stories. It comes off very disingenuous if you are utilizing your own perspective, create referral-based conversations. You should probably speak to somebody who had the same problem or opportunity as your business. It will probably create clarity for you and certainty of intent because we just did this for XYZ brand, or we just did this for this client. Oh, Valley Ho trusts you, I should trust you too.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
That's perfect. Yeah, that's really great. And so while you're doing that, you have mentioned that those are the terms that you use on your team. So one of the biggest things in sales is you're generating more revenue and you're growing and you're scaling. So you're building a team. And when you're starting out a business, like you said, just sole founder, just you kind of pioneering through this, you learned a lot of mistakes along the way. I can safely say that because I have too. And a lot of the mistakes that I have learned are because of actions that are just actual human actions, and I see it a lot in my team where it's like, okay, well, I'll just do this. I'm like, whoa, don't, because I've done that before and I know exactly how that turns out and you don't want to do that. This is what I've learned from it and this is how I think it's going to be better to do. So haven't been able to figure out how to bottle this all up. Like all of the experiences and all of the lessons that I've learned, I don't know how to bottle it up and then pour it into everybody so that nobody makes those same mistakes because like I already did it. Like I already touched the hot stove, don't touch it anymore. How do you kind of implement that in your team? Like different kind of experiences and teachings to where it's like, no. We're gonna do it this way.
So that's the hardest part of owning a business is getting everybody on the same energy bus, swimming in the same direction, paddling in the same direction, whatever you want to call it. It's the hardest part. It is 80% of my gig.
Right.
That's literally 80%. My 9 to 5 is getting everybody on the bus. My 5 to 9 is being a CEO. How do I do this? There are so many tactics. I was just having the privilege of talking with Christian here, and I was talking about my 7 stages of growth. And I remember being at year 3, and all of the business was in my brain. And when I started bringing on trusted leaders and directors, there started to be this versioning of training, right? Like it's just like a 2 or 3% version difference. It gets real sloppy. So there's tools and tactics out there and software that you can do to create that. But I invest a lot of time in, I do quarterlies. I just came back from the Legacy Lodge in Heber. It's a 20,000 square foot beautiful compound. I bring my whole team out there. We just did our Q3 planning and Q4 vision, and we tell those stories. We talk about the why behind processes and systems, because you're right, after 20 years, there's a lot of mistakes made. The Chinese proverb is, fall down 7, get up 8 times. There is a million mistakes that have happened, and I have a lot of disruptive people in a good way, trailblazers in my business within the James agency, and they want to reinvent the wheel all the time. And I'm like, yo, bro, let me tell you why we send this status report on Mondays. Sorry, I'm like pointing at you like you're the bro. Excuse me. There's reasons for that, right? Accountability and practice. So I think it's incredibly important as a business owner or a leader to make sure that, once again, unapologetically ruthless, that you are core to the why of your business, that you keep everybody as the glue on the bus, facing the same North Star. That's very critical. And that helps with that value proposition, that brand positioning, that truth statement, all the things that are built in the core of a reputation of a business.
That helps sense. So sharing the failures, basically, just sharing them and going over and letting everybody know, like, this is why we
I am not a robot.
Right.
I make so many mistakes. There is not a playbook for me. And so I like to be extremely vulnerable and tell stories about how I got burned by clients or by staff. It makes it feel more foundationally relevant versus it just being a top-down, you have to do this, you have to comply. They're like, oh, V went through this, she knows. Mm-hmm. So that's important, to be very vulnerable, very authentic. I think as visionaries and CEOs and leaders, we get put on this unrealistic pedestal of perfection. I am just like everybody else, right? I've been through it. I was in the grind. I worked 60 hours, 80 hours a week. Can I tell you a fun story really quick?
Please,
when I was
yes.
starting the business, very early, I had just gone through a divorce right out of school. I had no money. I was practically homeless, living in my cousin's house. And at the same time, I decided to start a business. Perfect timing, right? Awesome. And I knew that I had to build a brand reputation. I used to work at a large agency that focused on large hospitality brands. I was a senior art director I worked for brands like Wyndham and Golden Doors Resorts. So I'm sitting in my little home office that I've got a hand-me-down computer, and somebody calls me, and I answer the phone in a British accent, like I am a receptionist. And it worked. And I'm like, one moment, please. And I put the phone down and I wait and I pick it back up. And then they'd be like, oh, can you come out and, or can we come to your office? And I'm like, no, our value proposition is to save you time. We'll come to you and pitch. And then I'd rally some of my creative friends and pretend and have business cards printed last minute. I was there, and it worked until my very British client called one day and clocked me on my fake accent, who is still a very good friend of mine and likes to tell that story to this day. But you just got to do what you got to do.
This is true. This is really true. So a little bit earlier in this conversation, you had made a statement about being selective with your clientele. And it's a blessing and it's a huge responsibility to get to a point in a business where you can be selective. I think one of the biggest responsibilities that comes along with that is understanding what the ricochet effect could be. Like you said, everything is a domino. So you have a client and you're like, this isn't my client. I don't know what to do. We're not seeing eye to eye. That's a troublemaker, but you don't know who that person knows. So you don't know, is it okay to let go of this? Or do I keep on kind of pumping through it? What are some things that you kind of reflect on and really kind of help to determine which way you go when you have a troublemaker as a client?
Yeah, I think the biggest signs, we call them beige flags first and then red flags, the spidey senses that happen. We work with a lot of very high-end clients that have very high expectations, very similar to you. And there's a couple things. The output of deliverables is expected. It's the trust. It's the respect. I believe people engage agencies to be a part of something bigger than their own organization.
Yes.
Right? And when they start to not respect that engagement, when they start to treat our people poorly, they overinflate their authority. We all know those people. That's when we start to have those beige flags. I have to actively untangle and untrain my team of this fear-based mentality to not lean into that adversity because it's a scary place. They're worried we're going to lose the account. Who are we going to piss off? Is Sam going to be pissed at us? Fortunately, the second that beige flag comes in, we're training them to lean in and ask those questions. Hey, I'm noticing that there's a vibration between us, or I'm noticing that you just increasingly seem to not be pleased, whatever it may be, and it happens. Again, we're not mind readers or problem solvers. 99% of the time, if they get at it in the beginning, they dare to lead, dare greatly, Brene Brown's philosophy of rumbling within 24 hours. I'm a big book reader, if you haven't noticed. You can discern whether or not it's a client worth keeping, because how they respond to your bravery to lean into that beige or red flag really is telling.
Yeah.
And if they don't respect the fact that you were brave and that you came at them and said, I want this to work, but sometimes you just know there's a client you gotta kill.
Yeah.
Relative story. We represent now a very popular brewery. I'll leave the name out for the sake of the story. Very big brand. They have airport locations, all these things. I fired this client 10 years ago. And at the time, they were our biggest consumer product CPG client. But they were so horrible to my art director. And one of the key principals just did not see the value. And I'll never forget, I was driving to my summer home. The team was getting ready to go on a week of recharge. And I said, I just need to call this gal and say, you know what, I just don't think we're the best suited partner to fulfill your expectations right now. And I said, let me make you some introductions. It was a very peaceful parting. We just re-engaged with them about 6 months ago. They are, again, one of our largest clients. The relationship is gold. It's confident. There's paralleling, authenticity, respect. The communication is fluid. And it's because how we left it then brought us back to where we are today.
Yeah, I think that's really important is how you leave it. And sometimes it's one of the hardest things to do is to have a peaceful kind of departure. But it is so important. And I'm also a firm believer that in any partnership, it doesn't mean that it's a bad client or a bad service provider. It just means a lot of times that you just don't see eye to eye. And that's actually like speaking that truth because you guys are fine now. So it was just not the right kind of vibe at the time. And I say that all the time. It doesn't mean, we could have a client that's unruly. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means that their expectations and what they're looking for, I can't meet. And that doesn't mean I'm falling short. That just means I'm on a different path, a very, very different path. And it's okay to break from that. But the way that you do it, I think, is extremely important, like you just said.
And I learned that if we let it fester or we let those vibrations go on too long,
it gets worse.
It gets really messy. Oh man, it gets so messy. And your space and my space, the creative space, is very tender. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of subjectivity. We are not robots, right? Yeah. So to be able to lean into that human part of that conversation, I think is really critical.
I think so too. And then also kind of brings me to my next question, where you grow in business and you get wins, and you go to that next level and you get a bigger win, and you go to the next level and you get bigger wins. And as you're kind of growing through those wins, those losses grow too. It's really strange how it kind of works. So I always picture everything as like Super Mario Brothers. So you're on like that first level of business, and like, you're worried about like, maybe a little mushroom that's coming to get you. And then the next level, you're worried about like the little fireball things. And the next level is like the ice level. And it's like, same game, different problems, higher stakes, as you're kind of going through it. So when you are going through and you're getting the big wins, you also have the big losses. I know for myself, one of my first big losses was detrimental, like can't eat, can't sleep for a week. You can't get over it. You never really kind of quite heal, I think. After that, it gets a little bit easier, I guess, but at the same time, like you're dealing with those bigger losses. So how do you kind of cope, deal, and then kind of mentor your team to pick up and like, let's move on from that?
I mean, a loss is a loss. It cuts deep, right? We bleed so hard, our business, because pardon my expression, but we give a shit. We care so much about our clients and making impact. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody by saying that. And so a loss is a loss. It does hurt, especially because in professional services, it's a reputation analysis. So if you lose an opportunity, whether it's you're in the pitching opportunity and you lose to your competitor, which stings, or you lose the opportunity after you've been engaged, they both hurt as much. I don't think you ever really callous, to your point, more money, more problems, right? Biggie, quoting Biggie Smalls. My controller likes to say more money, more flow. And I'm like, it's still as complex, right? But the intent there is, you're right. You have an opportunity to do retrospectives, to talk about what did we learn from this? How can we be better? How do we show up for the next time? Is this on us? Is it on them? Were we truly just misaligned and this was doomed from the beginning, which sometimes happens. Retrospectives are really critical, postmortems. But I love to teach my team that, and I know this is very cliche, but sometimes we've dodged a bullet and it's creating an opening or a capacity for something bigger and better.
This is true. I truly believe that.
Without fail, having a grateful heart, when we lose a client and we manifest a new list of targets, within 2 weeks, we get an inbound lead from that list. We would not have been able to take one of those either because it was a conflict of interest or we didn't have capacity. It always happens.
Yeah.
Flow versus fixed state, right? Stop trying to white knuckle and control it. There are things that are outside of your hula hoop.
This is true. In a situation that did end up less than desirable, even if it does create, open space for something bigger, better, and more true and aligned to you, what is something, a situation or a story that you can reflect back on where you're like, I should have done this differently and this would have changed? Whether it's, unruly client or anything that could have happened, what is a game changer moment where you're like, I know what happened there?
Oh my gosh, how much time do you have? Game-changing moment. I think the bigger a business gets, the harder it is because of the complexity of the bodies in the building in your organization. Honestly, when I look at lost opportunities or things that went sideways, and it is on us, and we didn't take ownership or do what we promised to do or delivered, oftentimes it's because, and I'll take ownership of this, I didn't cast the vision and expectation to my team as a leader as to how it should be. And so I often ask myself, more times than I should, what was my part in this?
Yeah.
And maybe truly was just a bad employee who went rogue. But I pride myself on having an incredible culture. But I can reflect on a couple moments where I'm like, man, I probably should have had my finger on the pulse of this, or I should have casted this vision a little tighter at the inception of the sale to what this client was going to expect, right? Again, those retrospectives are so helpful.
Yeah. Mine is always communication. It's always like, I'm a huge self-reflector too. Like, and no matter how much, like, I'm like, it's so blatantly clear that it was like this, let's just say it's this person's fault, for instance, I still am like, but what did I do? Like, and it almost always boils down to like a communication. Like, if I would have said this differently, like, if I would have just kept my mouth shut, or if I would have said more.
Devil's in the details
Yes.
too, right? Oh, the black and white matters so much when things go sideways.
I know.
Right?
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is just getting those. I like to write them down. I like to review, and then moving forward, and like not kind of putting too much time on it, because otherwise.
I call it sitting in the swamp.
Okay.
And so
that's a good
sometimes
one.
my team will come in and they're like, V, you cool? I'm like, I just need to sit in the swamp for an hour.
I'm just gonna sit.
Just let me be in the swamp, and then I'll just come out of it. But it's okay to be in the pity party for a little bit, because if you don't feel the energy of whatever adversity you just went through, you're not going to learn from it.
That's true.
If you brush it right under the rug, there isn't the opportunity to resonate back on those feelings and apply that to the next circumstance or situation or opportunity. So sitting in the swamp's cool.
I will join you.
Not for long.
I will join you. That's going to be my new term too. I need to sulk just a bit. So let's talk about negotiations and negotiation factor of sales. So a lot of times when you hear the word negotiation, you think of people bartering for price. And sometimes it's not necessarily a price kind of factor, it's a terms and conditions kind of factor as well. How do you deal with negotiations when they're proposed to you by a client? Are you tolerable of them? Do you like to bend a little bit? Are you firm boundaries? No. And the price aspect and terms and conditions.
Yeah, I would say 10 years ago in reflection, we were a lot more fear-based and we would bend quite a bit. As I've learned...
Did you always regret it though?
It always bit us in the behind later. You give them an inch, they take a mile. That's my lesson to share. So if you make a tolerance here or there, as I mentioned, the black and white keeps you safe. Make sure your contracts are high and tight. I typically don't like to tell people what to do. I'm going to tell you guys. Do that. But as a storyteller here, I'll tell you that when we make budget considerations or we're faced with budget objections, I don't like to discount. Luxury people, for some reason, try to discount more than not. Instead, I create a value consideration. So if they need to discount, then we take away part of our scope. I'm not doing the same for less. Okay, great. Out of consideration to your fiscal expectations, we can remove this portion of this service. Wait, but I need that. Correct, but you just came to me and said that you only have 75% of what it costs to get this done. To meet those expectations, to be able to ensure that excellence is achievable, this is our confidence level for how we can execute. And I am not confident that we can fulfill your objectives at a discounted rate for the full scope. Oh, you can't do what I need to hit my goals at a no, because, and so that's the consideration that I face with objections. Are you all familiar with the McDonald's theory of sales?
No, please share.
All right, small, medium, large, right?
Oh, okay.
If you give, it's very easy. If you give somebody one option, they feel cornered and they're always gonna shop you down. They're going to go and they're going to find something else. And typically, the lead time to deal close takes much longer if you give them one pricing consideration. Then there's the medium. You're giving them two options. Two options, they're still having to now negotiate with themselves. They only have two options to pick from. The third option allows the consumer to throw away one option right away. It's always going to be the bottom tier or the top tier, but you've given them consumer power to let something go. And then they negotiate with themselves between the two because they've thrown away the top or the bottom. When you're pricing in an obligation of where you want to have a full service engagement at a white glove service opportunity, make sure your medium offering is your highest confident. Be okay that I call it Toyota, Mercedes, Bentley. Your Bentley option is gravy. but your Mercedes is what you would typically charge at 100% capacity and utilization. So just be careful with that. I find that when I present a 3-tiered option, the negotiations are shorter because they're internalizing it themselves. Then they say, well, can you do this for 10% less? Sure, well, we can just take this down to the Toyota option of service, but I want the Mercedes. Let them negotiate that.
Yeah, that's great. Is there ever a situation or a specific client that you would bend on that? For instance, if Jay-Z came to you and was like, I need you to take over Rock Nation, but I'm going to be really strict on what I pay for this. Do you do it? Do you not?
We actually do. It's called a strategic investment. And on our P&L, we log that as a strategic investment. So either our blended rate card will come down, we'll realize there's an opportunity investment or an opportunity cost there. I don't want to get too geeked down on finances, but we know the rate of return, that person we're taking a risk will return in a domino. We currently represent JDM Capital. They oversee the Biltmore Golf Course and Wigwam and both restaurants. Jerry Quangelo, one of the 15 stakeholders of the city, owns JDM Capital. And we did a freebie for him recently because he's doing a beer collaboration with Shop Beer Co. And they were working with Shops, no disrespect, but their design team and 15 rounds, horrible experience. And they came to us and said, will you design this? And by the way, we need to have it done in 6 days. And my chief creative officer is like, let's go. V, can I get an approval on this? I think this is going to go a really long way. We sent 11 options of beer can designs. Amazing options, you guys. The client approved it yesterday. All of a sudden, the client's bringing me all these new opportunities. They were in my office this morning. So strategic investments can pay off, but you have to be very thoughtful in your critical analysis of who's the domino, how is this going to repay. I would say one of my biggest learning experiences, people do not value what they do not pay for. So if you think you're writing off $30,000 of work, and they know that, they do not know that. Free stuff is not valued. You have to merchandise the sweat equity, the time. However you show that in a very sophisticated way is very critical.
I think that that's such good insight because what happens when newer businesses come about, speakers and people kind of drive into people's heads, like, charge what you're worth, charge what you're worth, charge what you're worth, which I believe that wholeheartedly. But I also believe there's an asterisk there because there are certain opportunities where I am going to let it slide, still to this day, 15 years in, where I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah, I'll do it for free. I'll pay you to let me do it, because I know how much further that kind of pushes the domino down. So I think that that's the really important part. Yes, charge what you're worth and stick to it and don't negotiate terms and services and don't discount things for no reason. But a negotiation, a true negotiation, means that both parties are being benefited. So I think that that's like a big part of that little asterisk that kind of goes in. If you could go back to yourself 5 years into business, just 5 years where you've learned kind of a lot of the entry-level stuff and you're really kind of getting ready to play in like a bigger league. What's a piece of advice that you would give to yourself that would have helped you tremendously in the next couple years?
Just see me take that huge breath.
Yeah.
I have the privilege of being an EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. It's a fantastic organization. Founders, co-founders, majority controlling shareholders of businesses over $1 million. And so I get the opportunity, like you provide, to learn from people who've already been there. The one thing I did not learn from that group is this: trust, but verify.
Yeah, true.
And as we started growing, and I had 2 kids under 2, we were growing 100% year over year, right around year 7. And I was starting to trust people, and I did not verify. And I had money stolen from me. I had intellectual property stolen. Somebody opened an agency on my dime, solicited my clients.
Oh my gosh.
Trust but verify. That's what I would tell my 5-year entrepreneurial self.
So you had gotten into that bigger success, bigger problems that you would have never even thought about those first couple of years. It just kind of goes level by level. So that makes sense. Trust but verify.
And it's a fine line of being a leader and a manager. Managers micromanage leaders, put bumpers on the lanes, hold accountability, hire the right people. verify, right? Put
Yeah.
spot checks in. So that's a fine line, and that's also a very hard place to grow as you're scaling, to go from a doer to a manager to a leader. And there's different checkpoints of emotional stability, I think, that everybody goes through in the 7 stages of entrepreneurialism.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is one thing that has changed right now for you versus what it was before on how you value success and what success is to you?
Gosh, I feel like literally I've aged a million years since COVID. March 17th of COVID, I took a 62% net loss in 30 minutes.
Wow.
We were in very heavy concentrated luxury hospitality, food and beverage. And if you think of all those asset classes that got kicked in the teeth, right? It was really hard. I remember laying on the floor of my bedroom, and at the time my daughter was 5, and she goes, "Mommy, why are you crying?" And I said, "Honey, I think today is the day I'm going to lose my business."
Yeah.
It was so hard.
I thought I was going to have to go work at Bank of America. I was like, I'm going to have to be a teller.
Oh,
I don't know why my mind went there, but that was where it was. It was like,
I sat in the
I'm a
swamp
banker now.
for longer than an hour, let's just say. And at the time, I was grinding hard. I mean, before that, we were on this crazy scale, and it was a great experience, don't get me wrong. I loved growing the business. But when that happened, I learned so much about myself and the definition of success and autonomy and curating what I felt was a healthy business lifestyle ratio, which is a very hard thing because work-life balance is totally BS as you're a business owner. So I used to quantify success as revenue and portfolio and book of business and, and awards. And I've won every award. And now I look and I'm like, I want to feel trust and confidence in who I am and in my business. My sphere of influence, I rarely say yes to events or speaking opportunities, and my pleasure. I kind of put her through the ringer on our discovery call, right?
She said she's intense.
Yeah, sorry. But success for me is having a state of peace in my mind, knowing that I'm making impact in people's lives, solving my clients' complex business problems, and giving my staff a safe place to work. Culture is so much more than just dogs and beer and music and all of those things when you walk into our agency. It's a rad place to work. It's 12,000 square feet. It's loud. There's dogs and pranks and booze and snacks and all the things. But at the end of the day, we rumble, we trust each other, we're in the trenches. I've had 5 successful marriages come out of TJA and multiple babies, which is weird that I condone relationships within the workplace, but that's beside the point. I love the successful feeling of people trusting me to provide for their families.
That's beautiful. I love it. What's next? Next goal?
So I am actively in the process of building a platform to move into acquisition. So we're looking to not sell, but buy smaller agencies within single discipline leads. In a regional, we're looking for an hour flight, kind of like Southwest, really to do our green pasture acquisition strategy. So it's an interesting learning experience. About 4 years ago, when I was having a hard time coming out of COVID, I sort of threw my hands up and said, I'm going to take 60% of my chips off the table, and I'm going to try to bring in a capital partner as a majority controlling. And I went through 9 months of an M&A process, spoke to 91 suitors, had 3 LOIs, very down the fairway LOIs, and the market shifted and debt got really expensive, and all these people kind of wanted me to sell my soul to the devil. And I'm like, why am I doing this? We're liquid, the company's fine. So I paused that, and I took all of that learning, and now we're applying that. And then I just put an offer in on a building yesterday, so we'll see what happens.
That's amazing. And so what's your time frame goal for acquisition, which is basically just domination?
I just want to eat everybody alive. All of my peer agencies right now are going through a hard time. So we believe we're in a really primed position for 2026. We have a 3 HAG, not a BHAG, but a 3 HAG, to be a 100-person agency, to be Ad Age recognized top 50 in the United States. We practice the EOS composition. It's called Apex, though it's a different kind of accountability system for us and our leadership team. It's work, man. It's a lot of work. So we have 3 years to hit this goal.
Okay.
Primarily because my current lease ends in June of 2028. So I picked that date very specifically to build our building, grow our enterprise, be able to tuck up these smaller agencies under the mothership. And I think, honestly, right now, I know it's hard. The macro economy is super tough, but my mentor, my coach tells me when there's blood on the streets, there's money to be made.
Okay. And so your peer agencies, when you said they're having a hard time, that's the economy related, obviously, right?
I think their cultures are dissolving. Okay. And because of that, they're losing their workforce. And when you lose your workforce, the tribal knowledge walks out the door, so you face client attrition. Mm-hmm. I think staff retention is a superpower right now during a really tough economy. If you can maintain great staff, great leadership, clients value that. If you can become an indispensable partner, I keep telling my team, the commodity is the deliverables. The asset is our thought partnership. Mm-hmm. That's a very hard thing to kill on your P&L when you have a trusted thought partner or thought leader strategically helping them in their personal or business lives. I don't know how applicable this is to you, but repositioning in 2026 is going to be critical with the insurgence of AI and offshore talent. It's instant gratification everywhere.
Yeah.
But a thought partnership is very hard to get in the Philippines.
This is true. I love this. So, well, thank you so much. So I'm going to have you stay up here with me for a little bit. What we're going to do next is you guys are all in groups. So in your groups, you guys have questions. There is one question that everybody has the same, and there's one question where everybody has something different. So I would like you guys to take the next 10, 15 minutes, discuss between you all, and then we're going to present and share. All right, everyone. I hope you guys had some really good discussions. So what we'll do is we'll just start over here with group one. If you guys could read the specific question you guys have, and then just kind of talk and let us know what your thoughts are, that would be great.
My team knows I love a mic. Okay, so sales tactic, we talked about getting to know the customer and just being personable first. That kind of like helps, it makes it easier to sell once you get to know someone.
What they value.
Yeah, what they're valuing the most, selling the vision and your full service. Yeah. Building the trust, we really focused on that. What else? How to justify your higher cost of service. Read the question, not everybody. Oh, okay. The set. Yeah.
Great, thank you, as I'm losing my voice. So our question was, how do you justify your higher cost of service to clients? FU pay me came to mind. But no, really what it comes down to, it ties into the main question. And that is, if you've done your job and you've built the trust and you've engendered that trust in your ability to bring their vision to life, then the closing is actually relatively easy. In terms of justifying what we do, it's really about helping them trust and realize that you fully understand what they value most. If it's a corporate client, is it, I don't want to be embarrassed? Is it that my boss is the most important thing and this is her big day? If it's a social client, is it impressing my friends? If it's a wedding, it's, my God, I hope I only do this once. So let's do it the right way first. What are those most important things to you? And if you've done it right, not only have you delivered on it, but you've delivered in a way that they don't question anything anymore. And they are so excited to work with you at that point. You know, we talked about the B word, the budget word, which should never be the early part of the conversation, but at some point it has to be part of the conversation. There again, as you're closing this deal, this opportunity, have you really taken to heart what matters to them most in terms of how they're going to spend that money? And are you willing to sometimes leave money on the table and go, you know what, don't spend this. This is really where it matters more. You know, I'm a caterer. For us, if food isn't the number one or number two most important thing for you, we're probably not going to be the right partner. I don't deal in words like expensive and cheap. I deal in words like value. And if you value the food and beverage experience for your guest above all else, we're going to be a bargain. But if it's not that important to you, and that's okay, there's a reason Olive Garden is popular, then we're not going to look like we're kind of ripping you off.
We've had the privilege of supporting Stavros for 4 years. It's been an amazing relationship. And what I value most about his visionary leadership is he does look for is excellence possible between our organizations. And we went on pause for a moment when your organization was restructuring and repositioning. And what I love is that you came back and you saw that excellence was possible. And it's a privilege to work with you because of that shared sentiment.
And we love it too. And just so you know, V was being very generous there. We went on pause because my entire marketing team left in about 5 weeks. So they all had tremendous opportunities that they seized upon, and we never want to stand in the way of somebody for an opportunity, even if it's a client. We never want to stand in that way. And V welcomed us back with open arms, so thank you for that.
Okay, here we go. So let's go to group 2. We can have you guys share your question first and then give us your insights.
Okay, our question was, what investments made the biggest impact on your growth? Kate and I both agree that it's your team, for sure. We've invested a lot of time, money, training, heartaches, tears, blood, sweat, all the things into our team. So I'd say that's our biggest investment.
And I loved what you said, that there are doers, managers, and leaders. And we were talking about, while we have invested in team members in all of those categories, it's not like you stay in that lane all of the time. Like today, as I sit here, I'm working on like my leadership, right? Because I'm trying to learn at where I am in my business. But when I get back to the warehouse today, I will be pulled back into being a doer or a manager. And it's so hard to kind of put those hats on and off all of the time. And so we were talking about also like the investment in you and where you are. And like, to me, that's being here and maybe like just carving out a couple of hours a week where like I work on being a leader and I don't let myself get pulled into those other categories. So that's kind of, I don't know, maybe you have any advice on
Do you give yourself time blocks to be a visionary?
Yeah, I have creative time. You know what I am actually lacking is my like mentorship and leadership, just working on that part. So I'm really good at doing my tasks, and then I'm really good at blocking off for creative time. But in kind of just being here and going through this discussion, I need to block off mentorship
Professional
time.
development,
Yeah.
yeah. Those are non-negotiables for me. Everybody has visibility to my calendar. My Monday from 10 a.m. after my L10 meeting until 5 p.m., it says time block, do not book. Mm-hmm. And that's my time. And they have to go through my assistant, Sarah, who Amanda knows, and literally run the gauntlet for that, because for that reason. However, I know as the CEO, sometimes you get pulled to where the business needs you. Right? So sometimes I get pulled into the finance or I get pulled into strategy and vision. That happens, but I always make sure that I give myself a finite end for that, because if I sit in that space too long, then the company suffers. So getting myself back to leadership, getting myself back to professional development is really critical.
That's good. Okay.
Our sales tactic.
I would say our biggest sales tactic is relationships, building relationships with your clients so that then you build that trust and they see why it is so important to utilize your services at their events. That's how we've grown our business 100%. We have not done any marketing yet as of now. We've grown solely on building relationships, so I would say that's our biggest sales tactic.
Perfect. All right, group 3.
So when we discussed what's one sales tactic that we both use the most to close, even though we're in completely different spaces, where you're in weddings and I'm in corporate, and you are the actual like service provider and I'm managing those services, we realized that we both use authenticity and just like genuine passion the most to sell. And so even if somebody is taking a moment to think about whether they want to use us, we both are just trying to make sure that they are choosing the perfect partner for them. And that way we know it's going to be a beneficial partnership for both ends. And then when it comes to what the question was, what's your go-to strategy when inquiries or sales slow down? It was also really similar on both of our ends, because for me, being on the creative side and more corporate, I usually branch out and work in destinations that are not as slow. So I'll go from Arizona to Chicago in the summer, or the Northeast. And as well, I invest in the aspects of the job that are not necessarily making me money now, but they are going to help us make money in the long run. So for us, that's destination guides, that's our hotelier and vendor partnerships. So making sure that we are learning from the successes of our past season so that we can continue growing with them and strengthening those relationships. And I will actually let you talk about yours.
Mine was also really similar, just doing outside of Arizona events, and then also focusing back on relationships, like you guys are saying, and going back to those people that you built relationships with, that you know it's going to be during the off season going to pay off in the long run versus right now.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, let's go to group 4. If you could read your question.
Okay, for sales tactic, we talked about it. We all kind of do different things a little bit. Like for me, from our sales standpoint, like we just try to get back to people quickly, because a lot of times in our industry, like people just don't respond to inquiries. And so I'm always harping on our sales team, like you got to follow up quick, you got to respond right away, you got to be on it. Because a lot of times, like, you know, if we're sending something to Anna, she needs it like yesterday or whatever. You know, so we're really trying to be the best at follow-up. Like, our business is kind of transactional, you know, for rentals, but like for designing like floral and more custom stuff, I think you kind of talked about the Beyonce thing. What's the Beyonce thing you were talking about?
We also have a 3-tier model. So we do small, medium, and large offerings on the design side, which is super unique for a company that does floral planning and production. So we limited our offerings to niche down to what we're really good at and offer our clients option, because the event industry in general doesn't do that. So we have an anti-sales sales technique, in that we show our offerings from the very beginning and then just kick ass at them and let the client choose what works best for them. Of course, there's always an opportunity for an upsell, but we let the client have an expectation and have a turnkey option, as opposed to coming in blind and not really know what to expect. Most people are doing a wedding at least for the first time, and events probably not as consistently. And so instead of leaving it open-ended and scary for them, we tried to put some parameters around it and then sell within what we're great at.
Well, what was the Beyonce thing?
Oh, Beyonce is our largest level. So we're Bloom and Blueprint, so we do B alliteration, so it's basic B, queen B, Beyonce. Small, medium, large.
There you go.
Love it.
I knew I'd get it out of you.
You got stuck on Beyonce.
Yeah. The unique question was, what's the best way to balance business growth while managing a growing team? So kind of what we discussed was setting proper expectations with the team. You know, a lot of us have all different levels of, you know, we have the team members, you know, the workers who are doing the cleaning and doing the loading and doing the prep and doing the delivery, to more leadership. I know for me, it's about having proper expectations of what like I expect, like setting clear expectations, but also understanding that nobody cares about it like I do. And so understanding and managing people who maybe don't care about it as much, but achieving a goal that you want to achieve. Because I don't expect everyone to think about this 24 hours a day like I am forced to, unfortunately. And then also getting out ahead of growth and forecasting growth in a proper fashion. So understanding where you want to get to, and not like doing reactionary hiring, which has gotten me into a lot of trouble in the past, unfortunately. And also, you know, trying to predict where you're going to have to be, and understanding that investments in people are going to grow your sales, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
I think the only thing all three of us touched on also was how important core values were. Lots of decisions in our everyday life can go back to that. So making sure that your team is knowledgeable about your core values, that you maintain
like the action of your core values because you're setting the example. You can hire based on them, you can fire based on them, you can find clients based on them. Your day-to-day operations within your business are based on them. So core values are super important to make sure that you're talking them, but you're also living them for growth.
Great, that's amazing. Okay, and then let's go over here to our final group. Go ahead and read your question and. All right.
Okay. Is this one that everyone had? The what is one sales tactic you use the most to close? Or is that, nope, that's different.
That's a unique one.
That's the unique one. Yep, of course it is. So we said, or I said, I guess, that I use mirroring a lot. So I'll ask the client, what do you want, essentially, in more or less words, and then say back what they are saying. So if they're saying, you know, we just want to have a party and really enjoy our day, I'll say, yeah, so I really want you to have a party and I really want you to enjoy your day. And so I'm going to take a more photojournalistic approach to your day to do that. So I use that form of mirroring to do that. And then you were saying that you kind of use your expertise and your past experience of having a shitty photographer and videographer to say, I know what you don't want to have. And so this is our expertise of, we know exactly what to do on the wedding day and we have everything all lined up. So we'll go into it so that everything is seamless. And what'd you say?
I like to ask leading questions. So that it like guides the client into saying exactly what I provide. So like in asking a specific question, for example, like for wedding videos, like I want them to tell me that they really want their grandma in their wedding film so that then I can talk about the importance of how I have like dedicated staff to capturing your family, and like that's something that we do that's unique from other companies. And so I like to ask questions and then they tell me what I want them to say, and then I can elaborate more after that.
Okay, so the other question that we had, how to survive in a market with tighter budgets but more competition. As the three of us are primarily photographers and videographers, it is very saturated in the wedding market, especially in Phoenix. And I guess just pricing ourselves out of more of the budgets that we don't want to be in and kind of stand out more. In that sense that we do look more like experts and experienced, as well as just, you know, being true to who we are and kind of like people are buying us and our expertise and they want Jamie, they want Brett, or they want Cam and Larisa. It doesn't even necessarily matter what the budget is in a sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. I want to open up just for Q&A. If you guys have any questions that you would like to ask B, go for it.
It's okay if you don't, too. It doesn't need to be awkward. Girl, I have like 200, so it's really hard to narrow. I just finished The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy. It's really about picking a big goal and making quick decisions and being okay to let go. I loved some of the influences that he brought to that for me. I am on chapter 12 currently of Brené Brown's threequel called Strong Ground. It brings a lot of Dare to Lead and Daring Greatly and her research work. Man, I felt like she was literally talking at me yesterday when she was sharing some principles around thought partnership. And so highly recommend. If I mentioned the hyper sales playbook, if you are an Audible person, just know that Jack kind of screams at you. So just you have to be okay. I've seen him speak multiple times and he's fantastic. Who Not How, I think I shared with somebody a fantastic book as well. 10X is Easier Than 2X is a great one. Lots of Marshall Goldsmith books, but I can actually send Amanda or somebody my whole list of books and then she can deploy them to you. I crush like 50 Audibles a year. I don't listen to podcasts. I listen to business books. I have no life. So there's just a hot take on some recent ones that are great.
What do you think about AI? Is it bullshit, or like, what do you think? Like, how do you use it in your business? Because like you hear all about it, and it's like, oh my God, I should be using it more.
All right, let me ask you a question. What do you think about Google? Is that bullshit? What do you think about the steam engine? Is that bullshit?
Okay.
What about electricity? Is that bullshit?
So I bought a new washer and dryer, okay? And it has a little sticker on it that says embedded or has AI. I'm like, I don't need AI in a washer and dryer. I'm sorry. Like, but I'm just saying, like, how are we all supposed to like apply it in either marketing or business processes? Like, we do use it, but I mean, like, there's trillion-dollar companies now, like, and they built it all by attaching AI to their name.
Yeah,
so.
AI is oxygen. You just need to know how to breathe it. It is here.
So how do we
it's not
breathe it?
coming. It is here. It has been here. Well, how do you use Google? Remember the .com bubble and the internet? You're like, oh my God, internet, so scary. How often do you use the internet? Every day. Like our whole life is on that platform. Our whole life is now going to be on AI. I think the dichotomy of the conversation around AI is the scarcity mindset that it's going to take over jobs. And that's real. I mean, there are robots that are going to take over certain things, and we're already seeing that. It's impacting my business. But you still need a strategic thought partner to use AI correctly. It's a tool. When Photoshop, okay, I'm an old crusty, you guys. I graduated from art school like 30 years ago. And when Photoshop came out, everybody was freaked out. Like, I'm not going to be able to be a graphic designer. What? No, it's a tool, just like AI is a tool, but it's oxygen. You just need to know how to breathe it, right? So a year from now, you're going to laugh at your own question. Just kidding.
No, I mean, I'm being a little sarcastic, but I just think like it gets thrown around so much that it's like, okay, like, what are we talking about here? You know, like.
I agree. I agree that the pace of communication around AI is sloppy, right? The integration of AI is moving faster than people can comprehend the conversation. But a year from now, it will be in our toothbrushes, to our washers and dryers, to our business infrastructure. It will become as common as Google, the internet, the light bulb, a steam engine.
Well, it's changing like search engine, like in Google Ads.
Yeah, if you're not optimizing your websites for AI SEO, you're behind. There's a pro tip.
Oh, go ahead. I'm next? Okay. So I wanted to touch a little bit on leadership and kind of allowing yourself to grow into that position and allowing others, because I feel like, especially in my business, we were talking about it, you know, is somebody going to do as much as you will do and put as much as you will, because that's kind of your baby and your business to grow it. And so how do you let that go a little bit to move into that leadership role and allow people to kind of be their best without feeling like you have to kind of keep showing them? Like sometimes I feel like I'm in a cycle of I have to keep showing instead of allowing them to kind of take the ground and move with it. Does that make sense?
All right. So my first answer is very carefully. I do not take it for granted. I have a very tenured leadership team of 9 leaders, and more than 5 are over 10 years that have worked for me, one since the inception of the agency, who Stavros knows, Shane Tang. So it's careful. Being able to let go. Let me use Shane, my CCO, as a classic example. He's creative, he's ethereal, he's artistic. He can get the job done, but the way that he thinks is polar opposite of the way that I think. And he will get from A to Z, but my direction will be this way. And he will take 17 turns and 13 loops and need a meeting about a meeting, but he'll still get there. And it will be extraordinary. And that was the hardest thing for me as a type A alpha control freak, is to know that these people who are subject matter experts and leaders within their disciplines will do better probably than I did it myself, but they're gonna have their own journey. What's important for me is that I keep them safe, I put bumpers on the lanes, I cast my vision, they can't deviate from the vision. That's really important. The purpose, mission values, core values. I think core values is critical. More importantly, do your people understand what they mean? Core values is really important. It's great when they're on the wall, but do they live them? Do they breathe them? I am facing an interesting time right now where some of my leaders no longer serve the purpose of leadership within my organization. So I'm starting to normalize conversations with them around repositioning them into lanes of expertise within the organization or welcoming them to exit. Because a leader at the inception of your business or at 5 years of your business or at 10 years or even 20 years now, they go through generations of change just like your business does. It's a living and breathing ecosystem. And the constant is me and my vision and maybe the building, and Shane will probably die under the building because he'll be with me forever. He probably won't, but just kidding. But what a privilege it is to have people come in and out and to be okay with that, right? The science of scaling talks a lot about letting go and making those decisions when you realize it's time to bring a leader up. I would say trust but verify, back to that statement. I used to promote people because they were good at their job, and then I find out they were a terrible leader. So be careful, because I learned and fall forward so many times from putting people in positions that did not set them up for success.
Yeah.
Great question, by the way. It's the hardest part of the gig.
So I've got two for you. One is I think, pretty easy to answer. You talked about the McDonald's model. And what goes hand in hand with that, I don't know if you've ever heard the movie theater popcorn example. So very similar to the McDonald's example, the movie theater popcorn, a movie theater chain years ago, decades ago, had a small and a large. And everybody bought the small. So they introduced the medium and made it equally price differential from the small to the medium as the medium to the large. Everybody ordered the small or the medium. Nobody would ever order the large. So they shifted and did the 3 offering approach, but moved the gap between small and medium to be greater and the gap between medium and large to be smaller, knowing full well that the profitability on the large was the highest. And the unexpected result, they really thought they were